a large portion of the gnomes were so entranced by it that they embraced it to their destruction. They would rather be consumed in the torrent of power because of their love for it than save themselves. The other portion of the gnomish population fled, but did so as everything in their world was consumed by this unearthing of this power. It did so by basically seeding their life essence or their life energy into this technological construct, which is the mask and some of the armor that you see that the gnomes have. And so the gnomes are, in that sense, ethereal, but their life energy is contained inside of these special wrappings, and mainly this mask is what keeps them together. They've perfected this technology. We'll see later in the stream, there are some that would try to mimic the gnomish technology, and unfortunately have done so with pretty grave results. So that's kind of the backstory of the gnomes. They're pretty isolated, enigmatic, mostly peaceful in that sense, and that their interest is really in the arcane, pretty much down to their core. So
very cool, very cool. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. We wanted to really try for that, as much as we could with each of the races. Some obviously to a greater extent than others, but we wanted to have a unique take. You'll notice with the dwarves, these are cold dark dwarves, and so they're of a very frosty origin. You can see that even in their appearance as well. The Archai is fairly new race as well when you think of an actual playable race. So I'm really happy with the roster of playable races that we have for launch.
And how many do you guys have right now?
9.
Oh, wow. Okay. On that note, I've had a few people ask this, maybe since we're kind of on that topic. What kind of character customization are we going to see when making a character?
A pretty standard set of options available, and standard meaning according to modern standards. There will be some games out there that do a deeper dive in character customization options than we will, but you won't be lacking in any of the customization options that you've come to expect.
Great, thank you.
Got a quick question from our channel I saw about factions. Is there going to be factions in KOS and things like that between different races?
Yeah, absolutely. You can talk about having an open, living, breathing world without having real dynamic faction relationships between the different denizens of the world. And so from the get-go, you will be making decisions, performing actions that will start to affect your faction with certain playable races, with certain races and other factions within the game world. So it's not limited to factions. Alignment will also play a role, and we'll see some of that in the perception system, where not only are your decisions and actions affecting your faction alignment with other denizens of the world, but you'll also be progressing along a moral alignment as well. And so you may have some NPCs that respond to faction. You may have some that respond to alignment, and you may have some that respond to both. And so our hopes is that it'll create a pretty deep system of interaction between NPCs and the other denizens of the world as your character takes shape throughout the game.
So we're coming across a pretty interesting part right now. Sorry to cut you off there, Chris. We still have a lot to go through, so just kind of need to move forward here. So this is going to be the perception system, which is kind of unique to Pantheon. Well, not kind of, it is unique to Pantheon. Could you
I was just about to introduce that.
Okay,
we've come into a village here, and what a lot of people are wondering about our perception system. This is our attempt to design a system that allows for rich quest and story content inside of an open, non-linear game world. We are not using quest hubs and exclamation points and mini-maps with flashing lights to create our quest and our story content. We've designed a system which takes the environment itself and makes it the quest giver in a sense. What that means practically is, as you're running throughout the game world, if you are someone who is pursuing the perception system, if you become a keeper, as we're calling it, you will be able to progress in your ability to perceive certain things in the environment around you using two skills, primarily a passive skill called Insight and an active skill called Investigate. What we're about to see here is, in the midst of Kilson's dance moves, just beyond Kilson, we're going to run down this path, and you're going to see an example where the passive Insight skill is going to alert you to something around you that you can either embrace your intuition or you can disregard it. And in this case, I'm going to ask Cohh to embrace his intuition, and we'll get to see some of the very, very early aspects of the perception system in action. Let's go ahead and run.
Feels like we're being watched.
Awesome. So you've progressed through that dialogue. You've run along the path. You hear Anne crying. It draws your attention. You approach, and then you get a perception ping where you're able to either embrace or disregard. You embraced your perception. See, she seemed troubled. That opens up the dialogue, and now you've read through the dialogue. You've finished. You got another perception ping. Feels like we're being watched. But other than that, it leaves the player with a sense maybe of what to do next. She mentioned something about a cursed cave, so we'll need to see if we can find something like that as we keep moving forward. But that's a very simple example of the perception system at work. That there was no quest hub gathering. We're simply running around through an environment. Sometimes it may be that you see something interesting in the distance, and just by right of going there and being in proximity of a POI, you'll be able, through the perception system, to learn more about it or uncover a storyline. Sometimes NPCs will reach out to you, flag you down, or draw your attention, as we just saw. Sometimes it'll be an active thing where it's up to you really to put pieces together and use your investigate skill in certain areas to uncover the next piece of the story or of the puzzle, so to speak. So as we develop this more and more, our hope is that the power of this system, the immersiveness of this system, will become more clear. And it's one of the things.
Very cool.
So we're going to head back down this path. We're in Avendir's Pass right now. This is the zone connected to the human starting area of Thronefast. When we get to a few key points here, you'll be able to see, just some of the scope again of this zone. And just like with Wild's End, we're mowing through these mobs here. These are very low-level creatures, but we're going to find some pockets of content in this zone that are much higher level, and we really want each of our zones to have a good blend of low and high level content to keep that low and high level player contact going.
I can't tell you how cool that is. I'm just so used to that assembly line to max level that almost every MMO has been for the last 10 years. It's really cool to think that as a low level, you're just running down the road, and all of a sudden to your left you see these really decked out high level characters just doing their thing right next to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
And then if you're like me, you get too curious and go find out what it is that they're doing there and get yourself kill bots.
Yeah, don't get too close to the Spectre's AoE, right?
So the quests, I'm assuming people had the time to read some of the quest dialogue, but she mentioned something about her brother that over the last 7 years has, every once in a while he'll just wander off, and they've always found him down here at the mouth of this cave, and we found, what appears to be the cave that Anne mentions, and we found her brother. So as soon as we take care of some of this undead, we'll see what he has to say.
Hey, Chris. Sorry, we just got a question from one of our VIPs, Porky, about the perception system. If you miss some of the dialogue, is there going to be a way that you can go back and check on it?
Yes, everyone who becomes a keeper will receive a tome of keeping, and that tome of keeping will be where all of the quest information, the dialogue, some of the keywords, phrases, all of that will be kept for you, so that if you do happen to miss some dialogue or you've read through it too quickly and you can't remember what you read, you'll be able to pull it back up in your tome. Let's go ahead and approach Eric here and see.
Oh, random quick one-off question. Will there be any type of in-game voice chat?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's 2016. That's how players play MMOs. It's voice. I mean, chatting and text is still going to be important to talk to people outside of your group. You don't want to hear 50 people, some cacophony of voices. But for inside your group or for inside your guild, we'll definitely support chat, voice chat.
Great.
So maybe to point out the context of the quest system a bit too is that there wasn't like a indicator or marker or anywhere showing us where to go. It's you kind of stumble across these things, and as you're adventuring, you'd come across this guy.
That's right.
Wouldn't be just.
We're obviously just came straight here to the mouth of the cave, but
I noticed I didn't even need to click on him. I went up and he actually started talking to me.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of a subtle but really important part of this system, is that the environment is engaging you. You're not clicking everywhere, or like Chris said, looking for that exclamation mark above a mob's head. As you walk along, you'll notice things. NPCs will come up and talk to you, and not that we won't have traditional epic quests, things like that, but that's a real big part of the perception system.
Side question to something you just mentioned. Are there any plans for class-specific epic quests?
Absolutely. And not just epic quests, but we want to extend that on a little bit to abilities as well. We love the idea of classes being able to quest for items as well as very powerful, iconic class-defining abilities.
Oh, that's badass.
Another question from one of our VIPs, Santiago. With this perception system, does that mean you're always going to have to start a quest right at the beginning? Can you sort of stumble across it somehow, somewhere in the middle?
It's very, very important that players are able to pick up the system at any point in time. The challenging things of the design of the system, but it's integral to its success. So, in other words, you should be able to start a character level all the way up to level 50 without doing a single piece of perception-related content, and then decide at level 50, you know what, I want to give that a try, and you go and you become a keeper, and all of the perception-oriented content is available to you in an organic way. So we have some ideas on how to make that happen pretty seamlessly and elegantly, and you can be sure that it is a non-negotiable part of the system design.
So you could run across a quest that's the middle part of the quest, and you don't have to start right at the beginning. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, the epic quests are more linear, will be more linear, but your average quest, your perception, you can pick it up at different times, and it's not necessarily A to B to C to D exactly.
Very cool. Another quick random side question. I'm noticing we're in a group of 6. Is that the max group size? If not, what is? And do you plan on having raid size groups for large scale content?
So right now we're looking at 6. As we're doing our testing, when we move into external testing, it will likely still be 6, unless something just doesn't seem right going into alpha and beta. I think it's going to probably stay 6 for a group. That allows you to have your different core roles, your tank, DPS, crowd control, heal, as well as a couple other options. Raid size, that's something, you know, that we haven't messed a lot with. Whether we'll have a limit or whether encounters will be made for different sizes of raids is kind of up in the air, and something that we'll be experimenting with in alpha and beta.
Great. And on that note, Trinity is in effect in this game?
It's actually a quaternity. I had to look that word up, by the way. But it is a real word. So that's your tank, DPS, heal, and crowd control. Crowd control is something maybe a lot of people haven't experienced in more recent MMOs. Chris or John or Corey, if you want to get into crowd control, explain that a bit. That might be good.
Well, you know, you've got your basic crowd control elements, which is something like an enchanter. Or even like I was asking earlier, does anyone have a root spell? I mean, with mobs flee and run into other packs of mobs, a simple root is enough sometimes to keep things under control. So that's the idea behind crowd control. It's controlling the mobs, keeping them either mesmerized, rooted, stunned, to where they're rendered inactive, so you can keep a better control of the fight. One of the cool things that we're wanting to do beyond crowd control is something that I call encounter control, which is when you get into things like atmospheres and environments, certain classes like a druid, for example, may be able to change the actual climate or atmosphere of a given area, which will have adverse effects on, say, the boss, for example. So it could be that the boss has some kind of, you know, intense frost resistance, some kind of frost shield that's totally impenetrable, or, you know, maybe is just highly mitigative. And the druid could come in and change the climate of the room to a scorching climate that would render for a period of time or for the duration of the fight that shield much less effective, or completely circumvent the effect of the shield. Some of it's movement related too, where it may be that while a boss is standing in a certain location, you may, not just through traditional maneuver mechanics like the tank getting aggro and then, you know, bringing a boss to another corner of the room, that may not be possible. It may require certain types of abilities to actually, you know, catch that boss from a certain location and move him to a different. So it's crowd control, it's encounter control, it's giving the players lots of really interesting ways to control certain aspects of the to their advantage.
By the way, just throwing this out there, I love being able to just jump between third and first person.
Yeah, a lot of the people in the community always ask, you know, are you going to support first, third? We're supporting both. There's advantages and disadvantages of both. I personally find myself switching between the two. I like the immersiveness of the first person, but in a really dangerous area, I'll pull the camera back out so I don't get some mob sneaking up on me from behind. So, yeah, it's definitely a combination of both is how I look at it.
Completely agreed.
We've got some questions on how we're funding the game. To answer that, we are currently doing crowdfunding. We did receive a round of seed funding as well. But if you're interested in Pantheon, it looks like something that you'd like to follow up on. We have several pledge levels available on our website at pantheonmmo.com. Lots of cool stuff for you to take a look at and collect.
And like Ben said, we've had some seed funding, and we're also continuing to look for accredited investors who are excited about this kind of game and want to see Pantheon come alive. And so reach out to us as well in terms of larger investments.
Nice little crossroads going on here.
Oh, critical hit. Yeah.
Quick question, and just to be clear on this is a PC only product?
Well, the great thing about Unity is it can target different systems. What we've said at this point is absolutely for sure it'll be PC. We hope to have a Mac client as well. Any other clients would come probably after launch, that sort of thing. So kind of depends on the timing and where Unity's at, and the time that it takes us to make sure that each client works on each platform. So PC first, then Mac, then we'll see where it goes from there.
Great.
We're going to check out that big room here in a second.
I think I can answer this one, but just in case. The question was, is there friendly fire or any type of aiming system for casters? And I believe the answer is no to both of those. I think it's a target-based system without any friendly fire. But
right now, yeah, that's
feel free
correct.
to correct. Yeah, okay.
95%. There may be some extremely powerful AoE, area of effect spells that could affect other people in your group that you'll want to use judiciously and make sure your group is positioned correctly. But that's kind of the exception, not the rule.
So for the sake of just our progression here, we're moving through this in a pretty linear fashion, moving right to the next objectives because we want to show the progression of the quest and unfold more of the area more quickly. So we're here now at the who was lost down into this dungeon and receiving the next portion of the quest, where we're also going to be receiving a key that's going to open up a new wing to this dungeon and lead us to our first boss fight, which we're excited to show you guys.
So hopefully, if you received your key, you can go ahead and just put it in your general inventory for now, and it'll work fine.
Done and done. So this brings up an interesting question. If we had not talked to the girl that was crying and gone through this quest line, we wouldn't have a key to get to certain parts of this dungeon?
Correct.
You cut off there, Chris, just as you were.
Yes. No, that's correct. That's correct. That's how we've gotten to this point so far. So that's right.
Excellent.
Also
Another quick side. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No. You go ahead.
I was gonna say just a quick side question. Are there any plans for voice acting?
Minimal. It's a major resource cost for us, and so we have where we can do it well and do it consistently, and in other words, not having it just at lower levels, or but if we can find ways to do it well and do it consistently, we will do it. Otherwise, we're going to stay focused on other areas.
Great.
Yeah, that's kind of an easy money pit to fall into, and we don't want to fall into it.
Yep, wrestling with the exact same issue on one of my projects right now. And it's kind of wild. You can go anywhere from, $5,000 to $5.5 million.
That's
in
what I
about
charge.
4.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Chris will do it cheaper than that for you, Cohh, but
Oh, we'll talk after this.
I'll do
Yeah.
all the voices you need.
we'll let you guys talk after the tour.
I don't have the key, so if one of you guys has it, thank you.
Might be worth mentioning too that with our targeting system, being tab targeting and also allowing you to select a non-offensive and defensive target at the same time, so you can heal your friend, your tank, while casting damaging dots, debuffs, or direct damage spells on your on the mobs.
Yeah, it's really easy to do. I mean, you when you select on the mob, it's an offensive target. When you're looking at the people in your group, you can click on their names, and that'll become your defensive target. And like Ben was saying, then you don't have to worry about your fireball is going after the mob, and your heal is going after your friend. So.
Very cool.
All right, so we need to kind of set the stage for a little bit for what's going to happen next year. Not to give too much away, but
I don't know how much stage I want to set. I want to kind of see how Cohh handles this.
All right. Okay. Okay. I like that.
Spoiler alert, poorly?
Throw him in the deep end.
All right. Well, then, if we're ready, let's do it.
So this is Nashua. And what's the plan, guys?
Well, let's run in and see what happens.
I say we send the ogre at him.
I'm really sorry if I let you guys down.
Let's pretend we're complete noobs and we'll just run in here and see what happens.
Oh, he's talking at us. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
What do you mean, pretend we're noobs?
Good point. Good point.
Oh.
There seems to be a few corpses laying around too. I think this is not a happy place.
Some unsuccessful attempts.
So can we can't even hit him yet?
Oh, he's talking at us still.
Yeah, he's got something to say. There we go.
All right, so the door behind us just closed, so we're getting out of here.
I was just about to run. Okay, I guess
We got an ad of some kind, it looks like.
Yep.
Oh.
Can we mez it?
We can try.
Uh-oh.
Well, back out of that.
Oh, Joppa just took a nice wallop to the face.
Oh, another side question while we're fighting this. Ranged weapons. Is there going to be any type of ranged weapons for classes like, I don't know, Rogue?
Throwing daggers. Yummy.
Absolutely. Ranged throwing weapons. We'll have archery. Don't have a whole lot of details on it yet. It's not a system we've gotten too deep into yet, but we will certainly have it.
Do we want to lock these ads down, or are you guys killing them?
Let's go ahead and kill him if we can.
Okay. I still got one mez in the corner over here too.
Another quick question while we're fighting. Any plans for housing on release?
No housing on release. Housing's a big deal, and doing it right is a really big deal. And we don't want just instance housing where you kind of go to this little neighborhood and put pretty pictures on your wall. But we also don't want open world housing where urban sprawl takes up half the world and people can't find a place to make a home. So post-launch, oh boy, post-launch we're looking at some ideas like outposts, things that guilds would set up in areas appropriate to their level, and other players could visit those outposts, and then when they were done they would kind of like the Wild West, you'd pick up your wagon of stuff and move on and move your outpost somewhere else. So that's kind of where we're heading with that, and that's kind of as much as I want to say at this point. Again, because it would be a post-launch feature.
We gotta focus on tactics here for a second.
Yep.
We've got 4 ads.
Oh boy, yeah, we've allowed him to spawn a few friends.
Running low on mana too.
Yeah, we gotta take out the ads, don't we? Pretty quick.
Yeah, I've been trying to
these ads. The one on me is half
I've got
dead.
heal aggro.
Come to me. Assist me. Oh, you've got aggro from heals. Yep.
The one, oh, shut up. The one me and Cohh are on is almost dead. Finish it off.
That's okay, guys. I just have 3 on me, no problem.
Yeah, I'm struggling.
We may need to separate the ads from the name for that AoE.
Out of mana.
Oh,
Eric's
of
out of
mana.
Shaman, do you have any mana to heal?
No, I'm out. I'm gonna try to get enough to keep dots on him and hopefully take him out before the fight's over.
This ad's down.
Oh, I gotta get out of the way. I'm in the side is a little.
Heal coming, Joppa. It's last my mana right now.
I got one coming on you too, Joppa.
Got one of those ads, Mez, in the middle.
I got this
Yeah,
guy. All right.
I need to upgrade my gear. My mana sucks.
Stop running.
Yeah, maybe you're not. You gotta use it efficiently and you gotta use it wisely.
Oh, I'm trying.
Says the melee player. So.
It's on me now.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you don't like me.
Drop
There's a
it
tank.
down. Drop it down.
Sorry, I just got enough mana for another heal.
Oh, let's see if we can do this.
For those of you just tuning in, this is Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen in development by Visionary Realms. What you're seeing is early gameplay. A lot of it's still work in progress, but we're grateful enough to be on Cohh's channel, so we're happy to have you with us today.
I think we got him.
Just dot him up, man. Everything you got.
One of the keys, I think, is to keep him
The
stunned.
banter
right?
here is doing his share of work. Yeah.
Oh,
Good
sweet.
job. Oh, I won't need to loot that.
Alright, I'm gonna pull Chris back. You want to release?
Yes. Now, what you don't see is how many times the internal dev team died testing and trying this fight for the first 10, 15 times before we kind of got the feel of it down. So
Yep.
it's pretty chaotic. It's hard to tell, I guess, when you're watching, but there's a lot going on in here that is it's a fun fight, and it's easy to get distracted by all the different things going on, such that you don't really kind of piece together the core of the several tries. So, but like we said, we're level 13. This is meant to be a mid-teens kind of encounter, and so this gives you just a taste of what we want players, even as early as level 12, 13 in their mid-teens or so, to start encountering in certain dungeons when it comes to encounters and boss fights, and is to find like this.
Yeah, the strat for this fight's actually pretty fun.
Well done
It
there,
took me
guys.
a little while to figure it out.
By the way, there's a lot of pretty good loot on that guy.
Let's take a look.
Well, there isn't any more.
Oh, there is. Somebody's being nice. Hmm.
So how many classes are there going to be on release?
12.
Nice. Okay.
Pretty decent sword on there.
Also, just had a question from a VIP backer, and he said, "Is there any ballpark time for plans when we will be allowed to play?"
It's pretty ballpark. First or second quarter next year is what we're targeting for the first group of people. But like I kind of say over and over again, like a broken record. But the game's got to be ready. There's got to be enough content there. We're shooting to have the entire continent of King's Reach ready for you guys to start testing, and we just got to be ready. So that's why we don't like to be evasive or anything like that. But the timing's got to be right, and there's got to be enough content and enough different mechanics in place for you guys to give us meaningful feedback, meaningful comments, do some good bug reporting. And I'd also like to emphasize that the way we're approaching this is not like early access Steam, play part of the game, if we did something like that, we would do it later. The earlier phases of testing, you'll be assigned different areas of the game and different parts of the game to test, and the idea is to really help us make Pantheon the best MMO that it can be.
We're full health, full mana, so let's start making our way back out.
Yep.
Sounds
Do
good.
it.
We're also
While
trying
we're
to pack
moving
all
out-
those.
2 quick ones for you. One, are you guys going to be doing any localization to other languages?
The answer there is most likely. I don't know about the timing yet. We are talking to a couple different publishers who might be able to help us out with that. Everything in our database and everything is set up to support localization. So it's just going to be a matter of timing and when it makes sense to do so.
Excellent. And second, probably a quick one. Will races restrict class selection?
Yes, they will. We don't have a finalized list of the race class combinations, but they will to some extent. Yes.
Oh man, I just got that guy mez me, or one of you guys mez me. There we go. I'm back.
My money's on
Wasn't me, I swear.
Kilson.
I'm like, why am I not doing anything? And I'm clicking on buttons and nothing's going on. And if I would read the text box there, it let me know I was mezzed.
Oh, the life of a warrior. The group running ahead.
Sorry, Jumper. I was trying to run away from the accusations of mezzing.
I wasn't even in the room. How could I mez you? I wasn't even there.
That's exactly right.
You didn't deny it.
I think it's not plausible deniability.
I just ran.
Yes, I think Kilson can bless us with his dance at another point later in the stream for sure.
There we go.
Another dance, absolutely.
The dance of the Kilson.
I think I've only died once, so I know there's gonna be some Kilson mischief at some point, maybe towards the end of the Twitch. I just have this gut feeling.
I'm not on my rogue either. I'm a main rogue as well, but
You can't
I'm Jumper.
backstab me. Cohh at the end. Cohh can backstab me a few times.
Cohh's gonna have to help me out, partner in crime.
Yep.
Whoa, these guys.
So we've got another question from Santiago, one of our VIPs. He's asking, going back to questing a little bit in terms of the drops. Can we answer yet? Do we know if a quest requires specific drops? Will it drop for everybody in the group, or will it just be one per mob, or will it be one per character? How does that work?
Yeah, I don't think we're quite ready to answer that yet. Some of that'll come as we get to that point in development with enough quests or within the context of groups where we can just see how that feels. It's something that we don't have a lot of strong feelings on, except just what feels best to the player base and what makes the most sense. So
My gut kind of thinks that it could vary. I mean, if there's a quest and it's important that it's more of a linear quest and it's important that everybody
we got
experience
3, so
the entire quest, then they're each going to need that. But if it's not quite as key, you want to be able to bring people in. Then some quests I would think could be done with just one group member having that quest up. Right? I kind of see it varying by context. But, that's just me thinking out loud. Like Chris said, we don't have it down.
Right on. So another couple quick ones. Will there be specific racial abilities that only specific races will get access to, such as Ogre Regen?
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about that, Corey?
Yeah, I mean, it's too early to really start delivering specifics, but we want races to matter beyond just the cosmetic choice that you start with. And as like an old school like pen and paper guy, I like the idea of like XP penalties and some races coming with bonuses at the cost of some kind of penalty along the way too. But it would just again, it's too early to really talk specifics because you got to find the right balance between like what's good gameplay and what's just like flat out either too strong or too punitive.
Let's take some time to get a little bit of mana back, and then we'll head.
Sure. And in that same vein, and I'm assuming the answer to this is yes, but just to make sure, are races going to have specific sets of faction on creation? And will there be instances where, say, an evil race character can't just run to a human city kind of thing?
Not just instances. That's how it will work. Yeah, I don't know if you have something you want to share, Corey, but that's pretty simple at the start. There's lots of nuances buried down below that. Again, going back to how faction can be adjusted and increased or decreased, layering in things like alignment. But yes, an ogre, a scar, a dark mer, those classes will not have a very fun time trying to get anywhere near, a human city or the halfling city, for example.
I had some really fond memories of being a dark elf, working my way through Cabalus in early EverQuest, like having to farm up thousands upon thousands of bone chips to turn into the guards there to get away from KOS. And I really liked that experience as a player, like being able to get places that I normally wouldn't have been able to get because I was, by default kill on sight, and making my way up the ranks to just be able to walk around in the city without getting cacked was a lot of fun. And I think people like seeing that and kind of doing that. We just have to make sure that the grind isn't too it shouldn't take like 6 months to achieve that, for example. But yeah, getting places that you normally wouldn't be allowed and picking and choosing your own path is going to be really key, I think, to some of our experiences. So looking forward to that.
And I think the bad side of grind is all about repetition. So it may take you a while to earn that faction to not be KOS, but hopefully you'd be changing your faction in interesting ways and not just farming the same thing over and over again. I think that's a really key philosophy we have in this game, where yes, this game is challenging. Yes, it's going to take time to advance, to achieve things, but we're gonna put the extra effort into making sure that that these tasks, challenging and time-consuming as they may be, are not just repetitively doing something over and over again in the same spot or some such.
Let's do movement speed buffs.
All right, we want to go to...
If you guys need any other shaman buffs, let me know. The regen and the...
Regen would be awesome.
I'm looking good, just need the little bit of speed. All right.
I've been trying to keep regen mostly on Joppa. Movement speed incoming.
All right.
Here's another good question. What are the plans? And I'll kind of angle most questions moving forward to kind of on release, because I know you guys have really big plans for a lot of stuff, but not necessarily all of it's coming in for release. So on release, what kind of equipment visualization can we expect to see on our character? Will every slot be a visual thing, or just the major ones, or any at all?
Well, with an MMO like this, there's going to be thousands, if not tens of thousands, of items. So there obviously can never be a 1-to-1 ratio between what you're wearing and how you look. That said, there'll be as many as we can fit in, both by launch and after launch, because it is very important to us, as we mentioned earlier. With that. Seeing higher level people, that what you're wearing does show off what you've accomplished, how high level you are, what adventures you've gone on to inspire others. If we do allow any kind of cosmetic gear, it'll probably be restricted so that people won't just be able to arbitrarily decide that their mithril plate suddenly looks purple. We want people to recognize the fact that they have mithril plate on.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, there was nothing like seeing a bard in full lambent. You knew exactly what you were looking at.
Oh yeah.
So we're back in Aventur's Pass, Chris. So we're kind of head to a new area, right?
Yeah, we are. We've actually seen this area before, and in the earlier stream, the first stream we did actually, we met right here, I think, as a group before we ran up to that the ruins we're about to move into. So you can see maybe even just already how even in this area, the game has the lighting, the textures, some of the rock shapes, just the overall look of the game continues to evolve and refine. As we move up into this area up here, we're moving into an example of one of our extreme climates. We've done some work up in here during the last Twitch stream and now to continue to convert the visuals over to look more like a frigid environment, because we want from the architecture to the textures to the particle effects, the weather, everything, the audio, all of it to provide that kind of feel to the player when you move into a frigid environment or a scorching environment. But this area we're moving into will be an area where you will eventually need to acclimate yourself to be able to stay in this area for any length of time. When we get a little bit deeper in, I'll talk some more about acclimation and how that works. But for now, just want to show off some of the visual transitions. And keep in mind, again, this is one zone. This is Aventur's Pass. We started here in the village getting the quest. We spent some time in the cave. Now we're moving to a section that is snow-covered, frigid, and the level range is going to increase pretty dramatically up in here, and all within the same zone. Same zone, but a large range of content.
Excellent. It's going to be great seeing this vision come together.
Big mess.
Nice mess, yeah.
Oh, here's an interesting question. We have seen and this is a direct read right from chat. We have seen completely open world endgame cause issues in the EQTLP systems. How does VR plan to mitigate one guild from stopping the entire server from progressing? And it may be too early for that.
Well, it's one of those questions that has many answers that can't just be addressed with. There's no just one solution to that. The first thing is lots of content, large world. Don't allow a shard to become overpopulated, so that people are competing over resources too much, or like you said, one guild's locking down an area that everyone wants to go to. And then there are also maybe systems and different shards that have rules about that. If it got really out of hand, it could become a CS issue. But I think we'll start with positive reinforcement and just making sure that there's enough content and an epic enough world to minimize that from happening. There shouldn't be a situation where there's one specific item that everyone in the game at a certain level wants, and so the biggest baddest guild goes over there and just camps it the whole time. there should always be multiple items you want to get. They should be in different parts of the world. You should be wanting to move around, explore those areas. If there is an area that's already camped out or occupied, then you should have lots of choices to go elsewhere. I think before we put any actual restrictions in the mechanics, we want to start with that ideal of having a large enough world with enough variety of content. Whoa, what the heck is that shadow?
Yeah, is it the griffin that scared the hell out of me earlier?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Few of them up there.
Oh, here's another good question. What kind of style are you guys going for in terms of like in-game characters and abilities? Is this the kind of thing where we're going to be filling up one hotbar with abilities that just kind of get procedurally greater as you level up? Or is this going to be the kind of thing where the end game player is going to have 3+ hotbars full of all sorts of different things, items, etc., etc.?
Corey, you can take that one to
Yeah.
start, and then I'll add it.
We're actually going with a limited action set, so we're still working on like what the number's going to be, but my gut says it's probably gonna be somewhere around 10 abilities that you can choose at a time. But as you level up and progress, you're gonna have a lot more tools to sort of choose from for your kit. So you're going hand in hand with that horizontal progression. Choosing the right abilities for the right situations will be really important. Not necessarily just getting the same, core abilities at plus butter every 10 levels.
Great. Okay. And on that kind of same line, do you guys have any concrete details on how players will be acquiring skills? Is it the kind of thing where, ding, you open your spell book and you have new abilities? You did mention earlier that there's plans for doing like questing and stuff like that, but what about just like general abilities?
Yeah, so your general abilities, every time you level up and there's a new ability available to you, at least initially, we have it set up so that you have to go to the trainer and pick up, your scrolls, like visit them, and you can take those with you into the world. So as you level up later, you can consume them and use them on the spot. But we're still exploring. This is still very early to really definitively say, but we've kind of proposed that up to a certain point, maybe like level 25 or 30, you'll have a core set of abilities that you'll find, from like basic trainers. But as you adventure, you're exploring the world, you may have to go find either those rare drops, or you might have to research your abilities, or you may have to find a trainer at the end of a dungeon, or at the end of a particularly long quest line, whatever it happens to be, like an epic quest, like for a specific ability. We really want to kind of push people out and get them exploring. So as you get to the higher end, expect that you're going to have to actually go find your abilities to a larger degree.
Awesome. All right.
Here we can see too, just as we're killing these, you can see the faction messages coming up. Our faction with the North Tusk and the Fractured Legion is getting worse. So
Whoa, we got about 5. I'm gonna miss
Job is a beast. He can handle it.
yeah.
Oh, okay, wait, that's like 6 of them.
Bring them to me.
Yeah.
All right, so every time one gets mez, I'm going to move the group over a little bit so that we can keep distancing ourselves from those.
I'll keep them dotted. I'll try to save mana in case I need an emergency heal.
Yep.
Not sitting because I don't want to pull more aggro, but I got heals for the time.
Looking good. Good job.
That third one on the far left is broken. I'm just out of mana.
Got it.
I've got you focused for hills right now, kills.
Cheers, man.
Just remember that when you're throwing the PvP mezzes later.
Yeah.
I'm gonna peel them off you. You can the one on your left, Kelson, is you can mez.
Okay. Just low on mana.
Oh, I'll come peel them then.
Just short of being able to cast it.
Just save your mana.
Oh, got a third.
We're on that
Oh.
green one, right?
You can be on the green. Yeah, I'm just peeling this one off of
Okay.
Kelson. Pulling these two over a little bit just to get some. Yep, perfect.
For those of you just tuning in, this is Pantheon Rise of the Fallen in development by Visionary Realms. You can watch as our heroes try to derail this train.
Also, as a reminder, guys, if you're enjoying the show, or more importantly, if you're enjoying the game, make sure to follow twitch.tv/Visionary Realms, and mods, if you can link that in chat. There's going to be a lot more gameplay, and unfortunately, not all of it will be on this channel. So if you're interested in the project, make sure to toss them a follow. They'll be doing all sorts of stuff in the future.
Nice job, guys.
That was good work.
No sweat.
Just to say too, combat, our statistics, combat formulas, attributes, weapon damage, delay, resource pools, resource regeneration, all those things are something we're constantly tweaking, constantly monitoring. We have it dialed in to a decent point right now, but don't necessarily look at any one thing as indicative of a final version of that. We're going to be, our goal is to create a group-centric game that's challenging, and we'll be constantly monitoring all of those different ingredients to make sure that we get it right. So. So what I'm going to do for the sake of moving us ahead a little bit, I'm going to jump on ahead to a point a little deeper into this area, and then bring the group to me.
Someone asked in chat, will there be alternate advancements points? Just as a reminder, AA points, especially in EQ1, came like multiple expansions after release, and were there kind of to facilitate people that have been playing the game for months to years at that point. Correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. I don't think there's any plans for AA type stuff on release, yeah?
Yeah, to be quite honest with you, we had no idea how successful the game would be, and that we'd have to raise the level cap, and we were confronted with how long it should take to go beyond 50, and started coming up with different ideas, different areas, and that's why we call it alternate advancement. So, and now it's over time it's become part of MMOs. So I wouldn't rule something like that out of Pantheon, but it'll be a planned thing. Whereas with EQ, it was like, oh crap, we need to add more paths of advancement as quickly as we can.
Probably not part of launch, but it will be a planned thing, and will be put in as a feature for sure.
Right.
So we're a little bit deeper into these snow ruins. Like I said, this is a frigid environment where we'll need to be acclimated to a frigid environment to be able to survive here. And we're going to go a little bit deeper in. You may recognize this area again a little bit from the last Twitch stream. We're going to move up into the Union of Shadow area again, but go a little bit on a different path this time. I'm glad he hasn't lost his sense of humor.
Yeah, I can't get enough of this skeletal labs. It just wouldn't feel like home.
So we went right last time. We're gonna go left and take a little bit of a different route through this area to show off again a little bit more of its scope. But our destination is to an all new area that we're going to show you guys here in just a little bit.
Also, for anyone just tuning in, and I'm seeing a lot of questions that were kind of covered in the early part of the stream, keep in mind the stream will be available later, and pretty much for the last 2 hours, all we've been doing is talking about mechanics, crafting, abilities, like the whole 9 yards. So definitely, if you just showed up and you're interested in that kind of stuff, make sure to watch this again from the beginning, because there's been a lot of that info this cast.
Has it really been 2 hours? It seems like about a half an hour to me.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's going by quick.
I'm loving
sure
it.
So we have an atmosphere up here that we're not going to be able to mitigate. So we need to actually
skirt
figure out a way through this.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can skirt it or not. Do we have a range? Somebody with range want to pull those guys?
I'm gonna pull the first guy.
Yep.
Hey, how was that for a pull? Just one guy, huh? Huh?
Magical.
Go, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I think we can skirt
That
to
was
the
a lot.
left here and at least avoid that mob. So let's run on through here.
Skirt.
Found a little secret passage.
There you go.
You ran out of range of heals, Brad. Sorry.
Oh, and
Oh,
I
Brad's
did
dead.
so much for my
No.
Yeah.
That's a nice corpse there.
All right. Yep.
So when we don't have GM abilities,
Bezos
that'd
is
be
sitting right on my corpse. Thanks, buddy.
Got it.
Little corpse desecration there.
and we got some more of these coming up. So let's keep moving. We're gonna have to just stay to the right here because we're gonna get some heavy ads. Okay, me right here. This is what we can get out of the range. But you got to get on top of me.
Stand on your head.
Yeah.
Want to buy better tank, please?
Uh-oh.
I just saw a giant white capsule go by.
Oh yeah, that's got to be some missing model information there. All right.
Well, maybe we should move a little further up and skip that little.
Just tried to muscle our way through there. They were not having it.
I think the entire Union of Shadows was they were having a meeting or something.
I love the snowmen running around.
Is this when we start spamming train to zone?
Yes. Be good to let them know. I'm gonna come back up here and get us kind of back to where we were here. 1 second. So what we probably strategy-wise, what we should have done in that situation is send in somebody with range to pull that group, leave somebody behind with heals to keep that group member healed. And as a matter of fact, we probably could have had the person that run in proximity pull, and then the healer actually pull the aggro off with a heal, and get the group to run back to us and take him out. So.
In other words, if we knew what we were doing.
Would have gone better had we done it that way.
Oh, are you guys planning for a bard?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. It just depends on whether it'll be there. Necros and bards are kind of up in the air right now in terms of whether they'll be there by launch or soon after.
Didn't we say we're going to cut those that they weren't cool enough? We're going to get rid of them?
Uh-oh, Ben, you're gonna not
causing trouble for myself there.
yeah for yourself. You're gonna get some flack for that.
So, follow up to Ben's comment: how do you unfund a pledge?
Yeah, right. Defund. What? Ben, you
I would
email Ben.
definitely
You
get
email
that
Ben.
over.
Email Ben directly. I think it's how it's done.
No, thank you. We're definitely having bards and necros. There's definitely a lot of love for those two classes.
Macawee says, "Can we have a look at the skill tree?" Macawee, this game's a little bit different. It doesn't really have like the quote unquote traditional like skill trees. You level up from as you level, and then you have to kind of go out and find your skills, train your skills, buy your skills, maybe loot them, do quests for them, that kind of thing. There's not really like an interface, at least, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, where you can kind of go and see all the stuff you can have. It doesn't really hold your hand like that.
Yeah, it doesn't show you what's coming, but Cohh, if you do bring up your character UI and you go to skills, you can see all the skills that you have and how many points you have in them right now. I don't know if you brought up the inventory and the stats and the skills yet.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I'm seeing all sorts of interesting things in here, like vision.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. Also, I'm seeing some spell casting skills. Are rogues going to have anything that utilize mana?
I think that was just a temporary, so testers can give themselves speed buffs. So I think
cool.
Rogues will probably use mana in certain situations. We're not ruling out mana as a resource for any particular class. Whether or not that class will rely on mana heavily or not, not all of them will. But you will see rogues, you'll see monks, classes like this, even warriors to an extent, using mana, different colors of mana in certain situations that are very situational, but not a part of their core class mechanics.
Gotcha.
Mana is what I mean, not a part of their core class.
Yeah. And for terminology purposes, skills are the kind of passives that level up as you use them, and abilities are like what's in your ability book down there, second from the right.
That's correct.
Okay, great.
I'm gonna try to pull, guys. Pull these back to us.
Will there be anything in the game where you will have to choose one ability over another, or taking an ability will restrict what you can do with your character in any way?
Heals.
Oh.
Too swole, sorry. We're right on the edge of that.
Yeah, so you guys basically need to
atmosphere.
stay literally right where you are, and I'll pull and bring back straight to the group, and then you can keep me healed as I'm pulling back.
Yeah, I'm tanking him now.
Yeah, should we help Erdune, or?
Oh, sure.
I have
yeah.
mana to help, so.
Yeah, that
Thanks,
atmosphere
so-
drains your mana too,
Someone's
so
helping me out.
casters especially need to stay careful in that atmosphere because it'll pull your mana down and you'll go to heal and you can't.
Yep, it's wipe.
I think I got nailed by that AoE.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll see if I can save the day here.
Too late for me.
Probably another yes/no question. Mods on release. I'm guessing no, but what do you guys think?
Define mods. You mean
Specifically, the question was about UI mods.
Yeah, you'll be able to customize your UI, and we love that. There's oftentimes people really gifted in that area that come up with great UIs. Where we're going to draw the line is no scripting, no automating different activities in the game. There won't be like a scripting language where you can make your NPC or make your player character into a bot or anything like that. So draw the line there, but customizing the UI for sure.
Great.
Throw a speed buff on me when you can so I can
Yeah,
Get in
we
and
need
out
to
of
get
these
it. We
things.
need to get to where we're going here.
So you guys stay put.
So follow you, right?
Yeah,
So he stays put, but I follow you. No, no, no.
Charge.
I
Oh my
stay,
goodness.
you go. Oh boy.
Don't think you
Oh,
All
will
right,
go
someone
back.
come up and grab him.
I'm so
Hurry.
confused. You told us to stay.
I changed the plan just then.
Yeah.
Oh, it's too late. They're gone.
All right. Well, maybe we should. Maybe we should skip a few of these atmospheres and get where we're going, Chris.
So there is a ring called the Ring of Anchors. It's an artifact that you can adventure and quest to find. That is specifically designed to counter this atmosphere. So, do we all have a Ring of Anchors on our?
I do. I don't. I bet Code does not.
Negative.
I don't believe
Okay.
so.
I'll share some.
I've got it on another character.
I need one as well.
There is actually a quest to go get it, but I don't really have the time right now. So.
Cohh has
So-
one. Who else needs one?
We
yes,
we
please.
actually streamed a lot. If you're more interested in seeing more details on this area, we streamed this a little while ago, earlier this year. You'll be able to see it at the Visionary Realms Twitch channel, also on the Visionary Realms YouTube channel.
Yeah, I believe this was our. Was that first or second? I think that's our second.
It's our
stream.
first.
This is our first. Yeah.
First. No, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Second
guys-
was Cave.
This lore isn't based on anything. As far as I know, all the lore in this game is unique to Pantheon.
That's
That is
correct.
Correct.
Sorry, Chris, I didn't
John,
take
did
it.
you
I
get
was
that
trying
ring?
to pay you a copper.
And there's a ton of it on the website, and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Now, to be fair, some of it is based on the real life hijinks of Chris Perkins, but apart from that, it's
We weren't.
That's
we
true.
weren't
new.
that
I didn't think we
safe.
were going to say that, but yep.
Yeah. All right.
Hold on, I gotta get one more of these rings to John.
Make sure you put them on too, guys, in your ring slot.
Did you get it, John?
I did.
Cool. All right, now let's see if we can. You can speed buff on me. That'd be great. And
Yeah.
on everybody that needs one.
Let's zip through this area. I'm out. I died. I've got no buffs.
Let's just do speed buff for now, and then we can buff up the next area.
Sounds good.
Who else needs speed?
Yes, please.
So
Someone
with
asks, is
our-
it possible to increase the inventory space? I think you can get backpacks and bags in all the slots. So, yes, by far.
Yep. And there'll be encumbrance and bags that reduce the weight of what's in the bags. Lots of really cool high level containers to get.
So you'll notice now with our ring of anchors on, we're no longer affected by these atmospheres. This is just one example of the atmosphere system that we have, and this is a pretty basic example as far as just a health and mana drain atmosphere. But if we had time, we could show you another atmosphere in here called the frenetic floor, which will need a certain artifact to be able to stand on without falling through. So there's lots of different types of atmospheres, and provide lots of interesting dungeon design and level with those.
All right, I sense us growing near to something pretty cool.
What makes you sense that? Is it the mist?
It's either the mist or it's the rehearsing this 5 times yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one or the other, right?
Yeah.
And the viewers are like, it doesn't look like you rehearsed it.
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah, you just
I don't
went
know if
3
I'd be
times.
bragging about that. Though.
I love the
So-
wind sounds.
Here, nestled in the back of this area, is a giant door of ice that we just happen to have keys to, but we're excited to show this area off to you guys. This is the from underneath,
I tried
also known as
speak,
Amber Fate.
tried speak friend and enter or something. It didn't work.
No,
No.
let's go in.
Let's do it.
Get my key here.
Woohoo! All right.
Nice. Need some ice skates.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a fan of slippery, icy floors, we'll be getting that in soon as well.
I'm a big fan of slippery, icy floors.
In real
Yeah,
life.
man.
Yep.
Need some spiked boots.
Chris, where are we?
We're in Amber Fate. This is a when I was telling you guys at the beginning that this zone will be is one of the raid zones that we're working on. This first chamber of Amber Fate that we're in now is a high 30s, mid 40s kind of core design, and then the lower chamber of Amber Fate will actually be a dedicated raid zone. This is a very high tier frigid environment climate wise. It would not be possible to survive in here very long without proper acclimation.
Oh. I think we're guaranteeing one variety of spider, species of spider per climate.
I don't know about that.
The desert spider, the ice spider. There always has to be a spider. Aqua spider.
Yeah. Is everybody here? Everybody with us? Oh, there's John. Okay.
There we go.
Just getting a lay of the land here.
Yeah.
So we're getting a few questions about acclimation, what exactly we mean by that. We covered it a little bit, but if we could go over it again.
Yeah, so there will be certain environments, extreme environments in the game that would require your character to be acclimated to that environment. And we're planning on launching with 6 of them: frigid, scorching, toxic, anaerobic, pressure, and wind shear. And each of those climates, each of those extreme climates will have a number of tiers associated with them that correspond to how extreme or how punishing they would be to the player. So a tier 1 frigid environment, maybe those ruins we were out in just before, you probably could survive in a tier 1 frigid environment without any acclimation, but you would certainly experience a lot of detrimental effects, maybe a weapon speed decrease as a debuff, or maybe a movement speed decrease. But none of those things have we fully finalized yet design-wise. But the point being that the higher the tiers, so this area where this is a tier 3 or a tier 4, I don't know if we'll launch necessarily with a tier 5, but there would be several detrimental effects, ranging both in their severity and in their type, depending on your acclimation. The process of becoming acclimated would be carried out through either some through gear acquiring. So you may find a cloak or some kind of insulative items that you could either add to potentially into an existing piece of armor, or there may be special slots for those things. And then also an ability through certain specific items that you would actually kind of absorb or inject, or kind of somehow absorb the essence of these items and actually change the physical composition of your body. And so you would have different slots like chest, legs, arms, hands, feet, blood, that you would actually apply those items to, and that would be your main form of acclimating to different environments. And you would switch and move those around as needed. And we'll have more information on how exactly that will work over time, and what would be required in changing those acclimations. But we want it to be fairly seamless. I mean, for example, we'll see in this area, there is actually a small scorching, a section of us with a scorching environment in this area. So we plan on having different environments within environments as well.
Very cool. Very cool.
Are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's hit it.
All mounted up. Good to go.
Speed buffs off.
Corey, I totally forgot to mention it too earlier in the stream. I think we could have shown some of that off when we were in Wild's End, but part of the combat system is paying close attention to the types of materials that your weapons are composed of, and the types of enemies that you're fighting. It's a body type system. I know the snakes, the scale body type was in, and we didn't quite say anything about it earlier. I know that slashing weapons are at a bit of a penalty with scale
And bone.
and bone. But maybe you could talk about that a little bit as we move through here, because we have certainly different body types. We have these cave crawlers that are more of a crystal. We've got the flesh, of the dwarves. We've got, some other things upcoming. But can you just speak a little bit about that first?
I mean, you pretty much hit it on there. It's just certain body types can be countered by different materials. Like, there might be, and also by different attacking types. Like, you wouldn't want to use, say, maybe like a slashing weapon against slimes, if you're familiar with like old pen and paper systems, where you might actually end up splitting the enemies down into two entities and create a worse situation. Just having the right, like almost like a rock paper scissors kind of thing, figuring out which weapons effectively do full damage, or perhaps a little extra damage against certain material types. Pretty excited about that. It's still a little early to really talk too many specifics, but yeah, it's definitely part of that horizontal, long-term, combat options.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, here's a question. Are some races going to be able to tolerate some of those environments and climates better than others?
Yes, to an extent. The dwarves, for example, the Cold Dark dwarves would be a race that would most likely start with a degree of built-in acclimation, and so it may be easier for the dwarves to reach that tier 1 threshold than the other races, and there may be other races that have certain natural acclimation to different types. The Dark Mer, for example, may have a natural pressure acclimation affinity, because you think of deep underwater being a high pressure environment. So yes, you can expect to see that.
Very cool. Okay, only because I've seen this question probably 5 times. Will there be dragons?
Yes, there absolutely will. Dragons actually play a pretty big role in Terminus, and in a pretty unique way. So be excited to talk more about that at some point.
We actually had a dragon in Wild's End, but he was eating all the halflings, so we had to despawn him.
It wasn't a true dragon, actually. Drake.
I was going to say, we have one hiding away that we play with when no one's watching.
But yeah, lots of dragon kind, drakes, wyverns, worms, and then your true dragons will be pretty exotic, and like Chris was saying, are a big part of the ancient lore.
I'm sure you guys just made a lot of people very happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's worms with a Y, not an O.
Earthworms.
Why are
Furrows, mud wigglers, all kinds of types of worms. Yeah.
And they're all named Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's the one on the right.
Oh, it may have. Oh, yeah, there's an arrow.
Oh,
I think I got a bit too close. I'll hold him here if you want to pop a mez on him.
no dots. I can't mez ones once they've got dots on them because it ticks it straight off. Still good, you guys got this.
That guy's still rooted. All right. Oh, one more.
So those of you just tuning in, this is Pantheon Rise of the Fallen by Visionary Realms. It's an upcoming MMO game currently in development. What you're seeing now is Amber Fate, which is one of the dungeons in the game. This is an early build of the game, so it is to be considered a work in progress, but you can already start to see how it's coming together.
So if you look up, you'll notice that the majority of Amber Fate is calling your attention to the vertical. It's a vertical nonlinear dungeon design, and so first step is to figure out how to start making our way up.
I'm gonna say, I hope someone bought some rope.
Hope someone has some climbing skill that they can get around in here.
Spider ad on Cohh.
We've got some questions regarding just the the programs that are used to make the game, particularly in regards to the artwork. Maybe John, you can tell us a little bit about your process.
Yeah, so I use a few primarily pretty heavily in some other ones in special cases, but for the most part I do all my modeling in Maya, and I basically just use whatever the newest version is, so I'm on 2017. For my sculpting, in most cases I use ZBrush, sometimes 3D Coat. From there I texture in Substance Designer or Substance Painter, and then bring it all together inside of Unity here. Slowly working on some custom shaders, as I've showed to our VIPs and then in my dev journal. But other than that, some of the other softwares are World Machine and Mudbox for terrain, and some other baking softwares like XNormal and Meld. And that's about it.
Someone asked, is there somewhere I can fund the game, Kickstarter, etc., and do you know if dungeons are instance or open? In terms of the first one, I think all that information is at pantheonmmo.com. Is that accurate, Ben?
Pantheonmmo.com, that's right.
Great, okay. And as for the second question, if dungeons are instance or open, I think it's a combination, but what do you guys think?
No, they're all open world dungeons. We don't have any plans for any instance dungeons at this point in time.
There you go. Great.
In saying that, though, I think they're going to be pretty big, so they can handle multiple groups with these.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about a little bit earlier when the question came up of people, camping an area and denying others access. The game's so big, there's so many mobs to take on, so many great items that it's just, and we'll of course launch shards if it really gets too crowded. We can easily put up new shards and divide the population up. So there's lots of things we can do there.
Yeah, you'll get a sense of scale in this dungeon alone of how
Yeah.
wide open they are. They're almost developed like an overworld zone.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, we had our healer was out of mana.
Who was healing me?
I should have been. Sorry.
People not reading
Who
text.
wasn't?
I can tell you who wasn't healing you.
He's the one that's taking the loot.
Yeah. Yeah, loot and then run.
Someone to summon.
This way, I don't have to compete.
First
Oldest
loot,
trick
then
in the book.
Res Brad. Leave no loot for him.
Can someone
I
type
get-
summon group? Thank you.
I get it.
Cohh, if you want to come out here with me for a second, I'll show you real quick.
The rest of us stay put.
Well, you guys can all come. I just want to make sure that the healers are getting mana. Actually, it'd be better to go around this way.
I may have fallen down a pit.
I see that.
Scared me.
There we go.
That's a gnome innate ability, right?
Falling down pits, yeah. So in front of us here, I told you about the fact that this was a multi-tiered dungeon, multi-level dungeon. So that right there is the path to get to the lower level, which we won't be going to right now. But just wanted you to.
The bridge down there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bridge too far?
That's the bridge to Kagan's Solitude.
Nice.
I also think that somebody managed to aggro some people when we were looking at that. So be
You saw
ready.
those two? Those
I
three
did.
little mobs running down the bridge.
I did, and they look like they're headed our way right now. They got wind that something's going on in here. Look, you can see them coming. I don't know if they know how to get to us, so.
Oh, they're trying. Oh, here he comes.
Oh, I guess they were after me. Let's go ahead and drop the Frost Hand first. Let's mez something else. The Frost Hand is We got 2 Sundersmiths as well.
Sorry,
so
Cohh, couldn't get you before that
You're fine.
guy took your life.
Ooh,
everybody on the Frostian.
Keep stun. Somebody, one of them's casting. All right, who next? Drop a Sundersmith?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
One broken on the rock.
all right. So take the one that I'm facing. That's the one to my right.
Spider in the mix too.
I'm summoning group. Summoning. Get Cohh back to us quick.
Woo! Thanks.
John needs some heals on me.
I'm dead.
Wait,
I'm
he started
poisoned
attacking
and out of
my guy.
mana.
That spider.
John's down. Make sure healers are meditating every chance they get.
Yeah, I can't. I got a spider on me
Where's Spider? Oh, I see
right
it.
next to you.
All right, let's focus on
Oh.
the Sundersmith here.
Here's a quick question for you guys. Will there be world events kind of like Kithakor Forest?
Oh. Yeah, there's definitely the event system's a big part of the game. We talk a little bit about it on the website. Things ranging from Kithakor type stuff to world events to localized events. Maybe you clear a path to the Hill Giant camp and the Storm Giants decide to invade, but that only happens under certain circumstances. I think MMO players for a long time have been asking for a more dynamic world, less Groundhog Day. We don't, no one wants a truly random world or procedurally generated world. We still want a handcrafted world, but mixing it up, having populations change depending on things that are going on. It could be a player triggering the event. It could be weather. It could be a certain day, the equinox, what have you. So yes, we're really excited about the event system.
Great. And here's an interesting question. I think this is the first time we've been asked this today, and I definitely didn't think of this one. Will there be a volunteer guide system?
Absolutely. In beta, we'll start putting that program together, maybe even a little bit earlier. And so in addition to the GMs who are, will be actually part of the team, we'll have a volunteer guide program. We're going to have a guild outreach program. Higher level players that like to help lower level players out, we're going to have the ability to mentor. It's really important that in business terms, it's called onboarding, that we bring players who may not be as familiar with this style of MMO gameplay, that we bring them on board and introduce them, help them find friends, teach them how to play, get help from other players, advice, guidance. And so all of those programs, GMs, mentoring, guides, all that stuff, even a voluntary system where you can put in what times you play and what your preferences are and things like that, a matchmaking type system, lots of stuff to help people get acclimated and used to the game. Because after a certain level, if you don't know what you're doing, Terminus is a pretty deadly place. So we want to kind of ease people into that harsh environment.
Very cool. So it sounds like you may have answered this in that answer, but just to reiterate a little bit, I just got max level. A friend of mine just found out I'm playing and wants to start. Can me and him play together using our characters without me having to make a new one?
Yes, that would be through the mentoring, where it would temporarily de-level your character and allow you to group with him and help him out. It'll scale. You'll be a huge help, but it won't be broken. It won't be like you're a level 50 in a level 5 area and just thrashing through everything. So it's a voluntary mentoring program. There's also the progeny system, where once you reach a certain level, you can create alternate characters that have some minor but noticeable advantages over brand new characters. So if you wanted, that would be another option, Cohh. In addition to mentoring, you could create an alt through the progeny system and group with your buddy. So,
Very cool. So there will actually be incentives to alt.
Yes, that's a big thing. We want, I talked a little bit before about positive reinforcement. There'll be incentives to mentor. By mentoring lower level players, there'll be certain advantages. We haven't worked out all the details yet, but you'll get points and recognition for being a mentor. That's really important, that vertical interdependence, where we reward higher level players who enjoy that sort of thing. We reward them for helping out the noobs, essentially.
Wow, awesome. Okay, great.
We better get back to climbing up this thing, Chris.
Yeah, waiting for our healers to get mana so we don't work
right.
again.
Gavin says, Cohh, any plans to stream this game when it releases? Oh, yes. Probably a lot earlier.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we'd love for you to follow us through development all the way into alpha, beta, release, and beyond.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to have you share with your audience, maybe a dungeon crawl or something like that one night. We can work something out.
Yeah, something a little less scripted, a little more open. Just kind of go for it, play the game. That might be kind of cool for people to see.
I am sure that we could find some people in this community that would love to do something like that.
All right,
So actually, that brings up an interesting question. So as you can see, we have a relatively large community here. And I know that in the past when we've played MMOs, we like to get pretty much as many interested people as we can into the game. However, a lot of MMOs these days like to set restrictions on your community size. For instance, one of the MMOs we played, you could only have 40 people in your guild. Well, we had 350 in the game. So are you guys planning on any type of restriction for guilds? And if so, is there going to be any type of system for large communities to function in Pantheon?
I don't think we have any hard limits in mind. It might affect gameplay. If all 300 of you guys decided to zerg a mob that was meant for 20 people, that mob might flee or call in reinforcements. But in terms of just an arbitrary hard limit to a guild, I don't see any reason why we would do that.
A personal thank you.
You bet.
It's not really fun overseeing 8 guilds for your community with 8 different guild chats at the same time.
And we'll have a really good guild management UI systems. Keep track of people, give people different ranks within your guild. Guild management, guild functionalities. I think that's really important, especially when you're talking about the sizes you're talking about. We want to help you guys. Help you guys stay organized and manage and keep track of who's who and who's what and where.
Funny enough, that alone is a huge selling point for me.
It's all about the guilds. For the people make up the groups make up the guilds make up the community.
Of the wall.
And that's what this game is all about, is that community. maybe it's a rival guild that but being aware and recognizing other people and having those shared experiences. That's really what Pantheon's all about.
Let's wait for that Thundersmith to move out.
I mean,
of
a
the way.
lot, so many games are called social now.
I'll stand first.
Even a game that you never even see the other person. It's a mobile game where it's really indirect. It's a social is a word that just it's being used so much it's lost its real meaning, and we want to bring back what's really social, and that is making real friendships, lasting friendships, shared experiences. None of this. The game finds people for you to run through an instance, and then after the instance is over, you never hear from them again because you don't really care. None of that stuff. And opportunities to help out others. I mean, you might be in a group in a dungeon, and another group is about to wipe, and you save them and make friendships there, and that kind of Wild West freedom, open world social environment is very, very important to us.
Paging Dr. Brad.
Brad turning his phone off, but he should have turned off before.
Ah, yes. All right, everybody on Dead Blade. Let's get this guy down. The Thundersmith right behind you, Brad. Be careful.
Oops.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Low on mana.
My heart accelerated for a second because of that.
Good. On your toes.
That's right. I see a bunch of corpses up there. I think that's
Those are ours.
They're white. Let's see if we get a little further now. The objective here, guys, is to get pretty close to the top. So.
Yeah, we made a good start on that first run there.
Yep.
Yeah, do we want to rest up ahead a little bit?
Yeah, we can. We've got one more fight coming up with this Thundersmith up here, so
Oh,
go ahead and
okay.
get him.
I'll hit him with Curse of Lethargy.
Hey, Cohh, I liked it in another Twitch where you
Cave
talked
Crawler.
about that downtime, where we're getting our mana back, and
That's Thundersmith.
some people might feel like, well, what's going on there, but the time to socialize, the time to talk about the next battle.
Absolutely. Talk about where you're going in the dungeon, what you're doing later that day, catch up on guild chat, catch up in your options, work on your inventory, like all of that kind of downtime within the activities. That's a lost art these days.
Yeah, I'm just not seeing that in the MMOs today, and so wanted to point that out. I mean, to someone maybe not used to that, it could be like, oh, what's this downtime for? But there's really lots to do.
I finished all the Cave Crawler. I'm going to go ahead and build up some hate on the Thundersmith.
By the way, just to remind chat real quick, I really appreciate the probably on average 4 questions per second going on in there. We're trying to get to everything we can. Also, they're taking questions in twitch.tv/Visionary Realms, who is the developer of the game. They're also streaming right now. Make sure to toss them a follow. But they're also taking questions in that chat. So we're trying to answer both. And also something to keep in mind, we've addressed a huge amount of things today. So if you ever hear me say like, hey, we talked about that earlier, make sure to check out the VOD. There's been a huge amount of discussion today on this game.
Getting a heal off on you, Joppa. Should ensure victory.
Here's a good question, asked by Afterlife. Will there be any types of ability chaining in Pantheon to where an ability will only open up if after a certain ability or that kind of thing?
We're talking about it. We don't want to go full on, combo system, but we like the idea of sympathetic abilities and opportunities for one class to open an opportunity for another one, and potentially even within the same class having some of that going on. So nothing set in stone yet. We're getting some of the fundamental elements of our ability design tool finalized, and that's when we do. That's going to open the door for us to begin to layer in some of those more complex abilities like that. So that'll be coming soon, probably by the time we have another big reveal on the ability specifically. We'll be able to talk more about that.
Yeah, if some of you guys are curious, we're really building this game up from the ground up, making sure the game's fun at lower levels, and then tackling the next set of levels, and most importantly, making sure it's fun all along the way. So that's kind of a design and development philosophy that we really embrace. Having seen and been part of projects that weren't built that way, we're pretty convinced this is the way to go.
Looks like we got a jump here, so
this is where the gnomes are going to have an issue jumping. Oh, I made it.
Let's take off movement speed buffs too, guys. We shouldn't have those on in here because
sorry.
eventually be able.
Oh, behind you, Erdun.
Yeah.
We got some more coming up to us here. I think that group found a secure.
I may have aggroed that top guy. He's thinking about it. Oh, here's an interesting question for some of our European.
Hey, we've got an ads. We got a bunch of ads, guys. So just
stay frosty.
Come get the card. He's the
Oh,
I'm out of mana.
I could probably answer your question, Cohh, because I just died.
The question was, what are the plans for separating EU and US servers? Can players choose their region in the launcher to move easily to be able to play with people from other regions, or we'll need separate accounts for each region? What are the plans for that currently?
Nothing set in stone, but we will have. Our servers are all cloud-based. It's really easy to put up servers in different parts of the world. But we're also finding, as unlike the old days, as the internet's getting better and better, ping times just aren't that bad. I mean, we have our own development team that are West Coast, East Coast, Europe, Australia. We all play together. We're not, lag. It just doesn't seem to be a big issue. But like I said, we can put servers up just about anywhere in the cloud, and it's unlikely that we would lock them.
Let's go ahead and start running out to us, guys.
If you're you might want to summon us to save time, Chris. There we go. Try to get back. We gotta get. We're still on the bottom.
Yeah, some tough encounters up here, so we've got to make sure we're attacking the right targets and calling out targets. And
Ben, how are we doing in Cohh time-wise? I mean, we could fight all the way through this, or kind of accelerate.
We might have to speed it up, unfortunately.
Yeah, we may want to do a tactical warp or two.
Okay.
There is a waypoint at T-Camp.
Yeah.
Also, full disclosure for everyone watching, I believe I am the primary cause of the extra mobs in most cases. So
I wasn't gonna say anything, but
it's very polite. I appreciate that.
It's kind of mean to tell the host that they're pulling all the ads, but
So we can show off the ascent. Let's just use /aggro, turn aggro off, and we can at least show the
Yeah, we
level
definitely
instead of
want
working
to
past it.
the climbing, the ascending for sure. Aggro off.
This is a special ability. It's a class specific ability called aggro off.
And
That's it.
this command will be available on release to the 5,000 plus backers, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
No.
okay.
No.
You skip all our hard work and content.
Not so much.
Talk about pay to win.
Oh, chopper.
I got it. I got it. I got it.
Oh man, you can do it.
You gotta wait to jump a little bit longer than you feel comfortable doing.
It's funny because I built this and I can't even jump it. There we go.
There you go.
So you'll notice here, guys.
Yeah, back off a little bit so we can really see it.
The climbing skill is going to be a major part of every class's arsenal, every player's arsenal, and then improving that skill is going to determine what kind of faces you're able to grab onto, what kind of faces you're actually able to climb, and so that's one of the keys to this vertical ascent and the vertical dungeon design, is being able to, in our case, having the skill to be able to climb up these rock faces. So if you don't have the skill, or if your skill's not high enough, then you won't be able to advance.
So it could be the kind of thing where a quest item for a really hard quest may be at the summit of a mountain that you have to have certain climbing levels to get to, kind of thing.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And it won't be limited to just climbing faces. Certain classes like rogues, for example, will have ropes that you'll need to use in certain environments when there aren't any climbable surfaces. And so there's going to be several different climbing elements that make up play. Let's keep making our way up.
I just gotta say, I'm watching you doing the climbing, Cohh, and for your first time, that's pretty impressive. Man, I struggled so hard with it, trying to get in the right spot and everything. Good job, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I was having a little bit of trouble with it, but then once you guys let me know exactly the key command and everything, and for those wondering, it's you hit space to jump on it, and then you just hit forward. That's all it takes. You just climb right up. But yeah, it becomes pretty intuitive after just a few times.
That's good to hear. And it's still pretty early on too. I mean, it'll receive refinements as everything will, but it's glad to hear it's intuitive already.
Now we've got some elevation. Now we've got some verticality.
Another quick question here. Are there any plans for teleporting spells like Party, kind of like Call of the Hero from EQ1, aka teleporting your members up the cliff you were able to climb and that kind of thing?
Yeah,
not in a way that would allow you to circumvent content. I mean, when you're talking about climbing a cliff, that you need a certain item or a certain skill to get up. You're not going to be able to circumvent that with something like Call of the Hero, but we still would like to preserve the base functionality of that spell. But it'll be to places where you would otherwise be able to get to on foot.
Right. The main thing there is it's a grouping game, and if you don't completely wipe, but let's say you lost your enchanter or your tank or what have you, the Call of Hero type spell would bring them back to your group so you could continue on. We don't want you sitting there, well, we're screwed now, we lost our tank. But like Chris said, that doesn't mean there's certain obstacles, certain thresholds, certain areas that won't be available because we don't want people just bypassing content. But keeping groups together, keeping people moving along is really important.
Excellent. I just noticed for the first time that giant spinning rock at the top. That is attention grabbing.
Yeah, it's really cool as we get closer to it too. You'll see.
And it has meaning too. I mean, it's not just eye candy, but it's all woven into the lore and the background of this zone. But I won't spoil everything.
Just give them a good tease, Chris.
Yeah. All right, let's keep making our way up here. There's more than one way up, but this one is pretty straightforward.
And every once in a while, when you're at the edge, don't fall off, but look over and you can just see how this epically vertical this dungeon is. In fact, I think from here you can see that big crater. And Chris won't even tell me what that crater is for. He's keeping it even a mystery for me, but something's going to be there. I can just feel it.
Yep.